Welcome to another edition of Asian Founders and Funders, where we introduce the brightest minds and most interesting entrepreneurs and funders throughout Asia. I'm Marc Kramer, a serial entrepreneur and senior lecturer of entrepreneurship at Vinh University in Hanoi, Vietnam. Today's guest is Ruby Nguyen, founder, CEO of Curieous. Ruby, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's my honor to be a part of this podcast.
Well, thank you so much for participating. So let's start off with this. Tell us about your professional background.
Oh, thank you for the question. I'm a second-time founder. Right now, I am the founder and CEO at Curieous, which is a AI-powered fusion of Substack and TikTok for writing. We have writers create content that can be optimized for virality on social media. And so that's what I'm doing right now. But before this, I spent 10 years in the confluence of education, technology, and media. I founded my first company when I was 24 years old. That was about 10 years ago, brought it to millions of dollars in revenue and profitability. After that, I joined two hyper-growth VC-backed startups. One is called Elsa. It's an AI edtech that reached, today it has 50 million users around the world. But when I joined, yes, and it's a Series C in terms of funding. When I joined, it was kind of 3A, and I joined as the country manager for Elsa in Vietnam, brought it from early stage to about 5 million users in Vietnam and 10 million users globally. And then after that, I joined a media tech company called Vietcetera Media. And we also grew from a blog to a multi-million, about 10 million audience network. So that's my quick background. I love entrepreneurship. I love education and technology. And that's why I'm building Curieous.
So before I ask you this question about Curieous, about why you started it and what's your mission with that, you just mentioned the companies that you work with got to 5 million, 10 million, 50 million in users. I mean, people have no idea, how many users that really is. Like when you think about it, I mean, it's an enormous, incredible achievement, because even getting 5 or 10,000 people to use something is a big achievement. But to get something that accepted, and these are things that are word of mouth. They're not like you're running ads on billboards and radio and TV and ads on Google. These are all word of mouth ideas. How does a company get to that place where people so fall in love with something that they spread the word, this viral effect?
Yes. In the early days, right, at least in some of the company I work at or run, in the early days, we don't run ads. Like even right now at Curieous, my principle is no ads. We have to figure out word of mouth, virality, product-led growth. But in later stage, like those to scale to millions and tens of millions of users, there's an ad element. But then ad elements is only the fuel to the fire that is already burned, right? So if you don't have product market fit and you run ads, you're going to lose money. And so to get millions and millions of users, first you have to figure out the first 100 users, the first 1,000 users, first 10,000 users organically. And then when the unit economics actually work, then you can start running ads.
And so what's the attributes of a company or a platform, a service like these that get people to use it and spread the word so quickly that you get so many users? What when you look at it, what's the attributes? And then I'd like you to tell us about Curieous and how you're going to make the same thing happen for that, because you already have a significant number of early stage users for that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Product market fit is like a holy grail for startup at early stage. And it comes down to so many things. But in terms of how to get people to spread the word of mouth is one of the two things. Number one is you are solving a problem that is so painful for them and no one else is solving it so well. And number two is you give them a pleasure that is so enjoyable to them, that not many other people or your competitors, anyone in the markets that can do it so well for them. Human is very complex. At the same time, it's also very simple. We are motivated by two things: problem solving, getting away from our problems, right? Or pleasure, right? Wishing some certain satisfactions in our work and our life. And so if you build a product that can solve the problem in a way that people are so excited about it, or you give them a pleasure that people are so excited about it, they're going to tell their friends, the colleagues, they're going to put it on social media.
And so tell us about your venture and why you started it.
Thank you. I love writing. Right. Besides, I love education and technology. I also love writing. I started writing when I was 7 years old. I wrote poetry and fiction stories. And that love of writing carried me through my whole life. In my career, I've written a lot of materials. So in the last 5 years, I have 2,000 pieces of content that I've written, from long form to short form to medium form. I write every day. And so I just love writing. I believe writing is one of the best way for me and for so many other people to learn and to share ideas. And I just see that in a modern day, writers don't get the limelight or the attention that they're supposed to get, like Instagram or TikTok, TikToker or Instagrammer, right? But people who write have great ideas. And so I've started to look into interview like a bunch of people who write a lot. And they always have this issue of, hey, I post a selfie and I have hundreds of engagement on social media. But when I spend hours to work on a really nice piece of content, I have like a few engagement. What's going on here? And because of that, they are discouraged. I also used to manage a group of writers as well in my past career in media company. And we all have the same problem, right? They have great ideas. They spend a lot of time creating content, but the attention that they get is very low. So make a guess, actually, Mark. A traditional blog, how long do you think it's gonna take for a traditional blog to get to 1 million views annually?
Oh my God. I mean, I guess depending on the content, I would guess that somebody has to build up 6 months to a year.
Wow, you're very optimistic, and I love that. At the same time, in reality, it takes 9 years.
Wow.
Yes,
9 years.
for a traditional blog to get to 1 million views annually, and that is too long, right? At the same time, like an average blog, right, have about 200 views per month. That is quite sad. And so, what I want to do with Curious is to help writers with great ideas to get audience.
And so what kind of writers are we talking about? Are we talking about business writers, mystery writers, or any type of writing?
Yeah, I'm talking about people who write for knowledge, right? They write to share knowledge, ideas, for especially for professional development in their career, because I think that's an area that adds a lot of values to our work and our life. There's certainly other type of writers I would love to serve as well, but in the early stage, I'm focusing on serving the writers with professional ideas and ideas and great content for professional development.
So that would be someone like me, because I've been doing that
Yeah.
for the past couple months. And even though I wrote a national column for American City Business Journals, I'm now writing these advice columns: 10 things to do, 5 things to do, 15 things to do. And so I've worked, and you're right, it takes some time. I mean, I worked up from nobody reading it to 500 each post. So I'm up in 2 months to 500 every time I post. And I'm posting 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And
That's
then
a lot
I'm
of work.
posting on the weekend. Yeah, and it's a lot of work to do. But I'm a writer. I'm a journalist by training. So putting that up and sharing that. But at least I'm finding that. But knowing it could be 9 years until I hit 1 million.
Don't worry. Don't worry about the 9 years one, because that's why I'm here. I'm building Curious so that writers don't have to take 9 years to get there. In fact, right, Curious launched about 6 months ago, and in our writing club, there's already a bunch of people who get to 1 million views in 8 to 10 weeks.
So what are they writing about that they're getting in 8 to 10 weeks? And how big of a following did they have to have before they even did that to get that number?
There are two group of writers that get 2 million views. Number one are the one who already have quite a small but good enough, significant enough following base on social media. So I call them the micro influencers. They have a few thousand to 10,000 followers on social media already. But they're using Curious as a tool to create content that has more engagement and more distribution on social media on things like Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. So in Vietnam, a lot of people use Facebook, as you might have observed. So we have our Facebook, our writers distribute their content on Facebook and grow like a few 100% in terms of engagement and audience reach. And then on LinkedIn, it's a similar story. Some of our writers have increased their following base a few times and the reach a few times on their LinkedIn with their content powered by Curieous. Now, this is another story that is going to be interesting. There's some writers that have never been on TikTok, right? No one think about TikTok as a writing place, right? And so,
Yeah,
including
I post
myself,
on TikTok.
yeah, including myself, I never thought about TikTok as a place to go to share my writing. So I tried it, and I used the tool Curious to put content on TikTok, and I got to 700,000 views with my zero, like no audience, no whatsoever, in about 2 months. I can share with you my TikTok account, and it's just my writing, right? I don't do TikTok dance and that sort of thing.
Oh, so, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm on TikTok and I'm putting in 5 things, 3 things. I always do things in numbers. So what
Yeah.
are you writing that, I mean, 700,000, huge. So what are you writing about that you've attracted that many people? And what's your advice to people who want to draw significant numbers? Like what kind of content really works? Because by now you probably have figured out a formula for this.
Yes, that's a great question. So, what kind of content do I write as a personal, as a writer? As I mentioned, I just love writing. So I see good idea, I see good story, I write about it. So there's content that I write about professional learning, right? So one of the posts that went viral on my TikTok was about what's the difference between a good enough, like a good talent and extraordinary talent, right? And so I see that one of the quality that differentiate them is the obsession with what they do. And so I write about that. It's a very short post, can be read in 1 to 2 minutes, and it went viral. And then there's another post I wrote about love. I'm just like, yeah. And I wrote about like what was the title of the post? I think I wrote about what create a long term, what make a long lasting love, right? And it's science driven. Like there's a lot of study about how people become falling in love for over time, over a
Right.
lifetime. So I wrote about that. Yeah. So I just love writing, and I just see good ideas, good stories. I put it out there. But the significant amount of my writing is about professional development and entrepreneurship. So that's the story a bit behind my TikTok. And then your questions about like virality, right? How do you figure out how to go viral? And I've studied so much in this. And also, I used to be at a media company when we have viral content going on every week with, like, as I mentioned earlier, an audience network of tens of millions of people. And so, in terms of optimizing for virality, I have to be honest with you. We cannot promise people that you are going to go viral. Virality is not something that you can promise anyone, but there's a formula for you to optimize your content for a higher chance of virality. And so, number one is about creation, and number two is about distribution. And so, creation is about writing. What do you write about? How do you express your idea? Use the right kind of title, and how do you make it look very beautiful so that people on social media want to read, want to consume it? That's in terms of creation. And then in terms of distribution, right? A lot of writers don't understand this. Creating content is only 20% of the work. 80% of the work is actually distributing content. And it's a very hard reality. And this is why on average blog has a few hundred views per month. And it takes 9 years for people to get to 1 million views because they don't know how to hack the distribution. And so at Curieous, we built a solution to solve these two set of problems. Number one is creation. Creation should be about good idea, but that idea has to be concise and simple, and people can read it in 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Now, the reality is a normal person would scan your content about 10 to 15 seconds and they decide to bounce or not, right? You don't have a lot of time for attention. And then if they decide that they're going to read your content, they're going to spend 1 to 2 minutes on your content. That's already proven with so much studies. And so a lot of people love writing long form. Yes, long form is great. I love long form too, but you have to bear in mind that if your content cannot be expressed in 30 seconds to 2 minutes, you have a high chance of people not reading it. And number
Have you
three
wrote a
is about,
column on this? Have you
I'm
wrote a
sorry,
column on, have you wrote a column on this question?
a column on this question. I should. It's on my deck somewhere. I present to some people, but yeah, I should have written about it. Maybe I'll write about it
Absolutely.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely write about it. So before you started this company and even your other company, did you write a business plan? Did you write out a document to see what you were going to do? And did you put together a financial forecast? How did you plan to start this?
Definitely, right. Having a plan is very important. Even though, so the reality is your plan is going to be so off reality, but still the process of making a plan forces you to be focused and be clear in your thinking. So I did have I don't know, I have so many documents on my Notion and Drive, and so many different versions of financial models on my business. Um, so that's what I did, but in reality, it has changed so much. The plan that I had when I first started until now is two different things.
Right. And they're evolving, right? I mean, when you write
Yeah,
these plans, I've done over 25 startups, and I even tell clients I write them for that one is it's a living document that's going to evolve because your thinking is going to evolve. And
hmm
two is half the plan is wrong. We just don't know which half is wrong until we're out there
exactly,
launching.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I look at it as well. So you, after you started this, did you self-fund this or did you get outside investors?
In the early days, I self-funded it, and then I raised some funding. And I did get investors, both institutional investors, or also known as venture capital, and angels. I have 5 angels and 2 VCs backing Curious at the
How
moment.
much
There,
how
there are
much have
more
you
interest
raised?
coming.
How much have you raised so
I'm
far?
gonna keep the amount confidential for
Okay,
now, but I'll definitely do a PR or like an announcement very soon.
got it. Understood. So how do you market your business? I mean, you put together a plan to get people to go and use this platform. How did you market this?
That's a great question. So um, it comes back to the earlier question that you talk about, like how do people get the word of mouth and that sort of things, right? So marketing for me, that's 3 playbook that I play. Number one is to get influencers to use my product, my tools, and when they use it, they like it, they share it to their followers and community. So that's number one. It's been working well for me. On my writer communities now, there's a lot of influencers like that. They have thousands or even tens of thousands of followers that following them, and they love Curious, and they just help us spread the words out there. Number two is about virality. It's about helping them create viral content, and that viral content is actually our own marketing, right? Um, when they see that, oh, this content is going viral, and it's there's a little description on the on the content say this is powered by Curious. So many people have seen Curious somewhere, right? So that's number two. The product value prop is to have people create viral content, and that viral content become our own marketing. And number three is the playbook is about products. So we have to build a lot of product features that create growth, that make people stick to our product, come back to our product, share the content on our product, even though they're not the creator, they're just a consumer, but they can share the content easily. And coming very soon will be features where they can invite friends. But we're very product obsessed. We continuously every 2 weeks we launch features that help our writers create content better, faster, more beautiful without having to do any design. All the work that the creator or the writer need to do with us is just having good idea, and then we'll help them to turn that good idea into content that can be optimized for virality on social. So those are the three playbook: influencers, viral content, and products.
So what's your revenue streams for this?
Our plan is to monetize with a freemium model. And we're already testing this model right now. There's hundreds of people paying us already as of in the last few weeks. The freemium model basically is that you make it free for most users to to use, and then a few percent of them will convert into paid users. But because of the massive amount of people on the network, even though 90 something percent, 97, 98, 99% of them use it for free, your model still work. Looking into the future of 5 years, we still can have a path to $100 million in revenue with this model.
So where are they paying for? Like, how much is the paid version, and what do they get?
The paid version is somewhere between $5 to $10, and they will get all the premium features and premium content.
What is that? I mean, like, what's the difference between the free version and the paid version? Or are you still working that out?
Yeah, we're still working on that out. We are testing different things. But the basic idea is that as a creator, you can create multiple series of content instead of just 3 series of content. You can use the tools like personalized design, right? You can have a design that is personalized for your content without having to do any design, right? And then in terms of from the reader side, you can subscribe to as many series of content as you want and consume the content that you like.
So who do you compete against? I mean, there must be other folks doing the same thing that you're doing. And competition is always a good thing, because if it's just you, that means you got to spend, because this happened to me. I created the first insurance product to insure small business bank accounts against cyber theft. And I spent all my money educating the market, got tons of publicity, but not customers. And then I ran out of money. The investors didn't want to put more in. And then now everybody is offering this product. So who do you compete against, and how many different players are there in this space?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love competition, as you mentioned. It means that you already have a market, right? And so there's 2 groups of competitors that we're competing against. Number one is those traditional long form blog. So think of like people putting their blog on WordPress and that sort of things, or Substack or Medium, right? So those are the long form platform. We don't compete directly with them, but we do compete for some mind space, right? And so our product is the next generation of blogging. It's not the way that traditional blogs used to be. It's a network that turn ideas into writing, turn writing into multi formats or multimedia content that can be consumed very fast. But over the long term, it's great for consumptions and for writing. And so that's the first group of competitors. And the second group of competitors is actually other existing social media that already have text and writing as a form, right? The problem with social media is that yes, on the surface, it looks like you can be a writer on social media, but below it, that you're competing with selfies and picture of fruits and dogs and cats and many other really clickbait-driven news. So the algorithm on most social media is about what gets the most click, right? It's not about who has the best knowledge to share. I mean, they try to do that too. Yeah, they try to do that too, but it's too noisy. And so we kind of adjacent competing with them, but not a direct competition. So we are in the confluence of social media and also like a platform for writing.
Do you operate in person with your team, or is everybody virtual?
We do a hybrid model. We have 2 days per week that we spend in the office together. And the rest of the time, people can work from anywhere. Once in a while, our team member will be like, oh, I want to go to Bali for a month, okay, sure, go and work in Bali for a month remotely. And last month I was working remotely from the US, and I was surprised that I was double productive. I was more productive. And but yeah, I still believe in in-person interaction, a lot of in-person interaction, and once in a while you can take your work to somewhere else.
Can you build a corporate culture uh, if people aren't seeing each other on a day-to-day basis or physically interacting? I mean, how do you build a corporate culture if everybody's virtual?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that my company is a startup and it's not yet a corporate, but the culture is there because in the early days, everyone spent time together. So before people can be remote, right? We already spend a ton of personal time face to face, and so we know each other very well before we go somewhere, and that's number one. And number two is um, I am very uh, I'm very specific about the type of people I want to bring on my team. So usually those are very talented people who can work very independently and work well in the team. And they're also very mission driven. They're here to work on a mission. It doesn't matter where they are, they still love this mission and they want to contribute and do amazing work. So that's how I build the culture. We also are very transparent, very collaborative team. There's almost no hierarchy. We just discuss and solve problems as a team. So that's for early days. But in my past career, I've seen other companies that has hundreds of employees, like Elsa, for example, one of my past companies. We are a very global team. And our teams are everywhere in the US, in India, Japan, Indonesia, Vietnam, and many other places. And it works. But it's take a lot of effort to build that culture and a lot of effort to hire the right person.
What kind of people do you look to hire? Like, what's the profile of the type of person that works well for you and the type of organization you're building?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The three things I always look for. Number one is the alignment of the mission, right? Do they feel excited about what we're doing? So beyond all this vanity of reality I just talked about, it's about the love for learning and the love for writing. We all, most of us are writers as well, right? We write on a regular basis. And we believe that writing is going to be a skill that enhances people's quality of thinking, quality of work, and quality of life. And so that's number one, the alignment in terms of the mission is very important. And number two is about talent, right? I I've made a lot of mistake in hiring, and I brought in people who are not A players, and it hurts the company. And so now I only hire A players, like people who have serious talent or they have serious potential that can be developed into an A player in terms of the talent that is world class. That's why my team is very small. My team is so small. We have 4 people, but everyone has world class talent. But we do a lot of work. And then number three is about the ability to be resilient and the attitude to to learn and discover solutions very fast. So the resilience is important in a startup because we have so much challenge on so many different fronts, and we have to work so hard solving so many problems that we've never seen before. And so that resilience and resourcefulness, being able to solve problem that you haven't seen before is important. So those are the 3 elements that I usually look for in the talents that I brought onto the team.
Well, what's the hardest part of your business?
The hardest part of my business. Whoa, so many hard things. I've never thought about this. Which is the hardest part? Um, I think the hardest part is fundraising. It's
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the
Especially
actual
in the current
execution.
climate. Yes, it's especially in the current climate. Fundraising is really tough. I've known so many founders who are so capable. The business is doing amazing, and they have to talk to hundreds of investors, and they still haven't closed a round, right? So it's tough, and it just take away so much of your time and energy from the business. Um, yeah,
My insurance venture, from the time I met the five different insurers to the time we actually closed, was 2 years.
yeah, and
I
that's
had
not even like
yeah, I mean, it was like incredibly hard. And then I had another venture where I knew the people because I've been working with them for years, and it took 9 months to close. And they said from day one, love this idea. We're going to raise all the money for you with this idea, and we're going to put 2 million in ourselves. And you thought, well, that means it's going to close in 90 days, but it took literally 9 months until the actual close. I tell people,
Yes.
entrepreneurs, every day you're 6 months away on average, 6 months to 1 year away from closing your deal.
Yeah, you're right. Especially in the current climate. It's the
Yeah.
toughest climate for founders in the last 10 years.
Is that right? You think it's, I guess 10 years ago was the last time the market
Yes.
dropped. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I lost the one business, is when the market dropped. My investors, unfortunately, were Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, Merrill Lynch, and they all went under at the same time. And so they pulled all their money out. So that was the end of that. What did you expect when starting and running your business that you didn't count on? Like, are there certain things like, I never planned for that and didn't think that would happen? What were some of the things that have happened that you just didn't plan on, good and bad?
That's a great question. I'll start with the bad first, and so we can end with a good one. The bad thing is managing people is really hard. Even like I have so much experience, right? Managing people, hiring people, I still make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and I think I'm gonna make more mistakes too, but just less stupid mistakes, I guess. I have a little bit of a soft side where, if I see someone who's young and talented, I would love to like develop that talent, right? But
Yes.
it's very challenging nowadays. Out of 5 young potential talent that I hire, only one will materialize, and I sink my time in the other four. And I look back, I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have bet on that.
But you don't know that at the time. I mean, that's not
Yeah,
and people build loyalty by doing what you're doing. So I've been hearing CEOs, entrepreneurs saying that for the past 30 years. Everybody says that.
yeah.
And these are the ones that are usually the most successful. And they're always saying, I shouldn't have done that. But then they get great people out of it. So I think that's a good attribute to have. What mistakes have you made, and what did you learn from it? Like, what are some of the biggest mistakes you made, and you say, you know what, now going back, I would advise somebody to do this differently?
Um, hmm. The greatest mistake that I've made is still hiring. Not is yeah. And last year I had a person who I hired, like a key person on the team. I thought he was very capable. It turned out that it wasn't, and I was so slow in ending that. Right, I was really slow. I thought, hey, let's give this person a few more months to prove out, because he was a serious talent. Right, having look at his profile, it's very impressive and everything. It didn't work, and I was too hesitant in terms of letting him go, and I paid a huge price for it, emotionally, financially, everything. So I wouldn't be able to go into the details, but it's
Yeah, I'm
one
sure.
of the worst mistakes in my career.
Wow.
Yeah,
So, but I tell you, I hear people much older than you say exactly the same thing. I think hiring is the area that we make either the greatest success stories or the biggest mistakes. It's either big hits or big misses.
right.
And I've had that with
And
even
there's no
business
way for you to
partners.
avoid it. I feel like there's no way for me to avoid it if I don't make a mistake and learn. Right? There's so much theory about it, but in reality, you just have to, learn through experience.
Very much like dating and falling in love.
I love that. I love the
Yeah.
analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have a mentor? And if so, what do you learn from your mentor?
Oh, that's a great question. I do have a lot of people who I consider my mentors, but I never kind of like formally call them so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have like entrepreneurs who've been there, done that, sold their company a few times. Some of them even created and made unicorn startups. Those are amazing, smart people that I talk to regularly about the challenge I face and bounce ideas on the opportunities that I want to pursue. Some of them are even my angel investors, right? So that. And then I also have people from different fields, not entrepreneurs, but they are very good at what they do. For example, they're very good at marketing or they're very good at sales. And I just meet with them very regularly, talking about this problem that I'm trying to solve. And so my idea of mentor is not one person or two person. My idea of mentor is a network of people who are much better than what I in specific area of what I do, and then collectively they become that mentor for me. I also have peers, right, who people are on a similar path that I am on, and they're also my mentor as well, even though I don't formalize that relationship as mentorship. But learning from my peers, people who are on the same journey, facing the same challenges, important to me too. And those are my mentorship.
Understood. I have to say
Yeah.
at 62, I have mentors that are much younger than me. I
Yes,
ask them
exactly.
for advice. I think if you're not open to people of all ages and backgrounds, you're only hurting yourself. So
Yes,
you have to keep an open mind, not that you know everything regardless of your experience.
yes.
Um, what skills today do aspiring entrepreneurs need the most to succeed?
Oh my God, there's so many skills. Like being an entrepreneur, that means you have to be good at a set of skills. So skills in terms of products, right? If you're not a product person, then you definitely need a co-founder or a core founding team members to be a strong product person. But as a founder, you gotta understand product. And then number two is marketing, right? And marketing is so important because if you have a good product and you don't know how to market your product, you're gonna fail for sure. And in the current environment or just the current development of technology and everything, building a product is not that expensive. Or sorry, let me rewind that. Building a product is not that difficult as it used to be, right? Actually, marketing is getting a lot more difficult because there's so much competition, there's so much noise. And so having the two skill together will help you to bring your company really far, especially when you're in an early stage. And then beyond that will be like a set of the third set of skills that you gotta develop, things like doing sales, um, certain things like finance, fundraising. Fundraising is so important if you're a founder and you cannot bootstrap 100% of your business, or you don't have enough sales to be able to cover all of the investment you want to have, or you just have a big dream and that dream needs a lot of capital, right? And so fundraising is a core skill as well.
Yeah, I think so as well. Fundraising is incredibly difficult. What's your customer retention strategy now that you're getting them on? How do you make sure people keep coming back? How do you stay in contact with your customers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our retention is actually in the top 1% of consumer app. And the retention has a few different factors. Number one is to build a product that people like, and actually a product people love. And luckily, our early adopters we have about 10,000 users now, and they love our products. They go and they spread our name on social media and that sort of things, and they want to come back and consume more content or create more content. And so number one is about building a product that people love, and then number two is about building a loop of activities or the tactic of retaining people, sending them reminders, sending them updates, continue to listen to their feedback and build new features that they like, and informing them, hey, there's new features coming out according to your feedback. Now we are improving this, or we are launching this feature. So those are the two things. The number one is to build a key value proposition that people love, and number two is about all this tactic. It's very common. It's not nothing new in terms of retention tactics for an app.
Do you have a board of directors? And if so, what is their experience and how do you utilize them?
Not yet a former board of directors, but I do talk to my investors very regularly about the update of the company, bouncing ideas of where it's going to go, and getting their input for my decision. Same thing with my employees or my core teams. I don't consider them like a member of the board of directors, but we discuss a lot in terms of what decision we want to make for the company. At this stage, that's the best setting that an entrepreneur should have. because you're still very early, you need to move fast, make decisions fast. In later stage, then typically it's gonna be pre-A or Series A. Then there's a formal board of directors that should be formed for better governance.
What's your leadership style? How would you tell people your leadership style is?
My leadership style, I'm very agile. I'm very agile as a
Uh-huh.
leader. Yes. I don't know whether there's a one specific word that I would put on my style yet, because I'm still discovering how I can be effective as a leader. And I think my principle for myself is that I don't want to stick to one style, right? Because certain style might work for this person, but that might not work for another person on the team. And also for different stakeholders, like when I talk to investors, it's a different kind of stakeholders, a different style that they expect. And then when I talk to my teams, it's different style that they expect to get from me. So I'm super agile and I'm trying to be effective instead of sticking my identity as a leader to one thing or two things.
Um, when you've had setbacks and you've taken risk, how do you mentally handle setbacks? Like, what do you do? What's your process for handling setbacks?
Oh, that's a great question. Setbacks is definitely expected a lot during this journey. And I think about handling setback as before the setback happened, right? And so there's certain, number one is about financial security. Number two is about the social support network. And number three is about self-care. So financial security is I take big risk in this business, but doesn't mean that I'm gonna, if I fail, I'm gonna go and sleep under the bridge, right? So uh, I make sure that there's certain safety for my family and for myself if I get into a bad financial situation. If my company needs more money and I couldn't raise fund, do I have the funding to, to put into this company, right? So I have all of that safety thing. I wouldn't call it safety actually. I call it risk management, right? I my principle of risk management is I would never let myself go to a place where I'm desperate or I'm just deep down uh, in the area where I can't get up. So that's number one. And number two is about the support network. I built my family support, my friends support, and people who are mentors you mentioned earlier, and friends. Great relationships around me. So when I have trouble, there's many people who can support me emotionally and in terms of helping me to solve some of my problems as well. And that's very, very important. And number three is about self-care. I make sure that I eat well, exercise well. I block my calendar every week, like 4 hours to play sport. I make some of my own foods and to make sure that it's healthy. Make sure that I eat 5 colors a day and those other things. Make sure that there's good nutrition and good health, and make sure that I have sleep enough. Now, sleeping is an area where I'm quite challenged right now because naturally I'm just I'm not a deep sleeper. I'm a light sleeper. So trying to solve that problem too. It's not perfect. But yeah, so those are the three things that I always say as my principle of becoming a great entrepreneur. Three areas I build and make sure that I manage setback well through those three things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about work-life balance. And what's the sport that you play?
Oh, I play paddle. It's a game that is similar to tennis, but it's less physically challenged.
Paddleball.
Actually, they call it padel. Padel. Yeah.
Okay, because we have that in the States as well.
Yes. Yeah.
That sport. Yeah,
It's one of
that's
the
yeah.
fastest growing sport in the world right now.
Oh, was that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And good for you. So, how do you? And I like you. I mean, I only sleep 5.5 hours a day. That's all I sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel
And
you.
my body is so used to it now that I don't know what that would be like. And I typically work Sunday through Friday evening. So I try to
Mm-hmm.
take Saturdays off where I don't try to do anything work
Yeah.
wise. So how do you keep your work life balance? And I especially think a lot of people your generation really have seen older generations working 80 to 100 hours a week and wondered like, that's crazy. How do you keep your work life balance?
That's a
Is
great
it
question.
possible?
I don't have a traditional work-life balance. So the thing that people think about when you have a moderate amount of work and then you spend time, like doing hobbies and other
Yeah.
things regularly. I feel like I'm very balanced. As I mentioned earlier, the three things that I manage in my life that help me to get that balance. Um, yeah, but I don't have traditional work-life balance. I am obsessive with my work, so I think about it almost every waking hour, and I work a lot. So, um, so my sense of balance is in the meaning of the work that I do. Make sure that I'm healthy. Make sure I have a great support network, and make sure I take care of myself well. I do spend a lot of time with the people I work with, and I feel like it's a part of my balance as well. I don't have an answer for this. I wouldn't suggest that other people would go into the path that I go to and expect to have a traditional kind of balance. Definitely, it's not going to be a traditional kind of balance.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, that's impossible because there's always one more thing you can do. Because I've been
Yeah.
asked that by my other significant others, are you done yet? And I said, do you mean can I stop right now? Yes, but am I
Yes.
done? No.
Never. Right.
Yeah, I totally get that. What trends do you see shaping your industry's future?
Wow, that's a great question. What trend? I know this is sounds like a hype, but definitely AI is here. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be a part of everyone's life in many different things. So imagine about how internet is a part of our life now in so many different things. Right? It's just a part of every person's life and business. And so AI is gonna be like that. It's already on that path. That's number one. Number two is that my platform is somewhat is also a social media platform, and I see the trend of the future where people reject the type of media, social media in the past. The type of social media where people are getting addicted to, but it's creating a lot of negative influence in their life, and create a lot of anxiety and depression. And so I'm trying to build the next generation of social media where it's help people to become better, have a better sense of community, have better identity, helping to get positive life and career outcome. And so for that, we're building a lot of things that make sure that we only encourage positive content and community connection in our platform. So I think there's a next generation of social media is going to come, and we're going to be that a part of that. And people are going to reject more of the past social media. Nowadays, when I talk to a lot of people, they'll be like, "Oh my God, I hate social media and that sort of things." But I think we are so social. Everything we do has to be social. Social media is going to still be a part of our life. It's going to be different. It's going to be more positive and support humanity in terms of um, making a positive impact.
How do you stay innovative?
We stay innovative by there's two things, right? And on the macro trend, then we have to be very plugged in into the development of the technology and the thought leadership in the industry. This is why I allocate quite a bit of time to hang out and go to places where there's thought leadership. And that's number one. So there's a macro trend that you always have to move with if you a tech company or if you want to be innovative. And then there's in the micro, the day-to-day, the operation. It's about staying obsessed with your customers and understand their problem and understand how you can bring a new solution to them. And it's about talking to your customers and users every day and looking at product data and analytics and seeing their behavior. And that will help you to inform the intuition of what to build next. So combining the macro of the big trend and the micro or the daily operation of understanding your customers, that combine together, that's how I stay innovative.
And finally, if you're giving advice now to entrepreneurs, especially right now, you're saying it's a tough market to raise capital, and it's very hard to be seen above the competition because there's so much of it, and everybody's using the same marketing tools, everything. What's your advice to aspiring entrepreneurs?
To someone who hasn't started on this journey,
Yeah.
I see. I think entrepreneurship is amazing. I love it. At the same time, it's not for everyone. In fact, it's only for a very small percentage of the population that is a suitable career path. Um, so entrepreneurship, I think, in early days is terrible for financial return. But I think Mark, you've been there than that. It's
Oh yeah.
everyone going to entrepreneurship think, oh, I'm gonna get rich. No, you're gonna lose a lot of income. You're gonna have to maybe even borrow money. You might have a actually you do have a very high chance to fail. And so it's terrible for financial income, but it's great for development if you're really into entrepreneurship for long term, right? Like maybe in 10, 20 years, you're going to be very successful, but not immediately. So it's terrible for financial return, but it's great for personal and professional development. So be aware of that and ignore the noises on social media or media in general and prepare for that. And number two is that only go into entrepreneurship if you have like a burning thing that you are obsessed about and you really want to build something different. If you just find, oh, someone is doing blockchain and they're getting rich in blockchain, I want to do the same thing, it's not going to last. But it's got to be something that you really love and deeply believe in, a solution that you deeply have conviction about, that you should be the one who build it. And so those are my two advice for entrepreneurship. Oh, one more thing is about having a network of support.
Yes.
Yeah, you would never be able to go very far if you don't have a strong network of support. Doesn't matter how strong or how smart you are.
And luck enters into this tremendously.
Yes, yeah. The problem is that we can't really systematically find luck, right? It's very hard.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, things have to fall right in order for,
Yes.
because I'm sure you've met plenty of entrepreneurs who worked incredibly hard and you thought they're going to be successful and it didn't work out for them. But since you have no control over luck or timing, you've just got to work as hard as you can, focused on what you're doing, and hope that you make good decisions and things fall in place.
Actually, your comment is very spot on. There's a TED Talk that you can find on YouTube when they talk about the number one factor that creates successful startup is actually timing.
Yeah.
And timing is luck. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it is so out of control of our entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, is we don't have a lot of control. But when we are getting lucky, right, it's not just one-time luck, like hitting a lottery. You see a series of signals that make you feel like you're getting lucky. So things like, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So Ruby, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. You're an amazing entrepreneur. I know this is going to be a big success for you, and you're already on that path there. And I know over the next 20, 30 years, you're going to have multiple ventures that come out, and you're going to be successful in different other ventures as well. And we're excited to watch you.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's my honor to be a part of your podcast. And the other day, we were a part of your student learning as well. And I'm excited about entrepreneurship in Vietnam, in rising Asia. I think Vietnam has so much potential as incubation ground for entrepreneurships. And I'm excited to be a part of the generation of Vietnamese entrepreneurs who build in Vietnam and conquer a global market.
Thank you so much.
Thank you and goodbye.